See the referees there in the middle as we're just waiting for the teams to line up for that moment's silence. And Johnny Murphy will be our referee, Limerick man. And Tannoy setting us up now for the moment's silence.
A native of both County Westmeath, who was a member of Ballymun and St. Edmunds, where he mentored juvenile and adult teams for many years. He's a father of James Madden, a member of Dublin senior hurling team. Yesterday,
up there with the PA. There will be no hour on the Vian, and I think we're going to get straight underway here in Croke Park. And Johnny Murphy, our referee, he's ready to go. Again, we see there Cathal Mannion and Sean Loftus in midfield for Galway. Rian McBride and Conor Burke in midfield for Dublin, and it is underway. The Leinster Championship semi-final. Live here from Croke Park. 8,000 spectators will be in here for the double header, which is brilliant to see. First tussle there and the first free for Galway. Darren Morrissey out in front to Cian Boland. See the tussle here. Nothing much in that, but anyway, here comes Pádraig Mannion, the Galway captain. Made his debut in 2015 against Dublin. And it's driving that one in. Liam Rush moving out towards that ball, but the referee unhappy with what he saw in there, and I think there was a pull there on Conor Whelan, the Galway vice captain, and I think it might have been Paddy Smith, Noel.
Yeah, it appears to be quite a lot of changes early on. I see Dahi Burke has gone to centre back. In fairness to Galway, they seem to make a number of changes. I think that Cathal Mannion has gone to midfield, which is quite interesting. But obviously they're leaving their kind of goal threat of Brian Kilcannon inside.
And here comes Joe Canning, 32 years of age, selected in midfield at number 9 on his back. Alan Nolan, the Dublin goalkeeper, standing in front of him. Two backs to his left and his right. Joe Canning to get us up and running. Joe Canning takes the shot, but Alan Nolan, the St. Bridget's goalkeeper, was alive to that threat. And well, he tried to catch them napping, but they were alive to it. And in particular, Alan Nolan, the 36-year-old Dublin goalkeeper, plenty of experience. This isn't his first rodeo. Danny Sutcliffe, Dublin captain. Looked up momentarily. Nice skill there just to take the extra touch and not overplay and foul the Schlitter. Here comes Ronan Hayes, goal scorer last week, 1-3 in total against Antrim. He plays that one back, and that one goes to the right and wide from Donald Burke. And that's the first wide of the afternoon. It's to Dublin, no, but here's the Joe Canning effort.
Yeah, it's kind of a mixed match here going on. It appears that Cian Boland has gone into full forward on Garrod McInerney, which is kind of a strange one.
Diana Murphy. Really nicely taken there by Joseph Cooney. And again, we can see the intention there. That's the second time they've tried to put that ball in. Here comes Canning. He missed one earlier, and again it's Nolan. And again the follow-up. Well, it's Canning against Nolan in the first 2 minutes, and it's 2-0 to Alan Nolan.
A small bit concerned there about Paddy Smith. He left Brian Kilcannon inside him as a back. You don't really want your corner forward inside you, but in fairness, he did well to recover.
And it was Brian Kilcannon with that follow-up. And in the end, that one goes down as a Galway wide. Alan Nolan, who's seen plenty of the action in the first 2 minutes here in Croke Park. Again, where's this one going to break? Dennis Sutcliffe, Dublin captain, looks up. Plenty of space here in front of Hayes. Hayes is dangerous in this position. McInerney is keeping a close eye on him, but Hayes is after slipping inside. Now he's stopped there. Is he stopped illegally? Adrian Toohey came across him. And in the end, Galway will clear their lines. But we've had plenty of sights on goal for Galway and Dublin in the early exchanges here in Croke Park. No score yet. Is that going to change? And it's not. It's another wide. It's a second wide for Galway, and that was hit by Cathal Mannion.
They're leaving a lot of room inside Galway. When Ronan Hayes got the ball, there was no one within about 30 or 40 yards, which is concerning for Galway.
2 wides for Galway, 1 for Dublin. And again, it's been a wet morning here in Dublin, and there was a little bit of drizzle just before the Schlitter was thrown in by Johnny Murphy, a referee from Limerick. There's a breeze as well, and it's I would say it's favouring Dublin in this first half. And there'll be another free for Galway coming here. Joe Canning coming to take this one. Again, well inside his own half. Matty Kenny. Again, his 3rd season in charge of Dublin. Coming up against his home county here this afternoon. And Joe picks that up and plays it into space. That's a lovely angled ball. And again, now it's put out towards Conor Cooney. Cooney takes on Paddy Smith. He now takes on Burke. Here comes Cooney, still has it! And that one's blocked by Liam Rush. Take your points, the goals will come. I don't think that mantra has made its way down to the Galway players. That's 3 efforts they've gone for the back of the net now.
Yeah, it's 5 minutes gone, over 5 minutes gone, and still no score on the board. I'd say Galway a bit more disappointed than Dublin at this stage.
First 65 of the afternoon. There's Conor Cooney with that opportunity. Made his debut in 2012 against Westmeath. 28 years of age now. Again, has achieved so much in his career with his club, St. Thomas, and of course with Galway. Remember that All-Ireland winning squad in 2017. Now Joe Canning. Can he register his first score of the afternoon? As I mentioned earlier, he's driving towards Henry Shefflin's record, but he's put another one wide. And again, that's 3 wide now for Galway. And Noel, for people at home, there is a breeze here in Croke Park. That is maybe factoring into the decision and how Joe Canning tried to hit that and tried to hit it low.
Absolutely. I was up here early this morning around 10 o'clock, and it was incredibly heavy rain up here. And there's a fair breeze, as you said earlier on, going straight down into the Galway goal. So that's definitely having an impact on the game so far.
Can't beat getting ahead of the traffic, to be fair, Noel, but probably nobody told you there wasn't going to be 80,000 here. First sideline cut of the afternoon, Rian McBride. Not the best of connections, and Cian O'Sullivan under pressure. Darren Morrissey does well. And again, in the early exchanges, we were talking before the game and listened to the guys back in studio and talking about Dublin's physicality. They're certainly hunting and Paxton, and they're giving no space to the Galway players now.
Yeah, absolutely. Just see Liam Rush pushing back in there. It's like as if he's playing a sweeper role. He's covering the 2 full backs at the minute. But in fairness, I think that Cian Boland is doing phenomenal work. He's up and down the field, and he's covering a lot of play.
Cian Boland, 26 years of age, Oliver Plunkett's man. 1-1 last weekend. And indeed, everyone's been talking about that clash in 2019 at Dublin 1 in Parnell Park. Boland got 2 points that day. Cooney losing possession there just as he came into contact with 3 Dublin players. He's still fighting and battling for it. Rian McBride again the same. Joseph Cooney with possession, and in the end I think it's going to be a sideline ball to Dublin.
What's really interesting in that passage of play there was 5 dubs around 2 Galway players, and I think that's the job on today.
James Madden. Sideline cut, but that's been gathered by Fintan Burke. Burke was really well just to release that pass towards Daithí Burke. Daithí Burke, that one's low, but again the Dublin full back line, Cian O'Callaghan that time, just sticking to the task, giving their men no space at all. And here comes Cian O'Sullivan looking to register the first score of the afternoon, and he's done that. But give all the credit to Cian O'Callaghan, he read that so well, the left cornerback.
I think Brian Concallan there tried to kind of play us early and he was playing behind, but in fairness it was unbelievable play there by Cian.
Often you'd be waiting 8 minutes for the first score of a hurling game, but that's the way it's been in. Plenty of opportunities. Canning coming across, Liam Rush there.
Every time we look up the field, Marcus, we can see 2 Galway players in the half-back that are unmarked. So at the minute we have Daithí Burke and Adrian Toohey in the half-back and marking nobody.
Space at a premium out there. As we wait for Darragh Gray. He made his debut in that clash in 2019 in Parnell Park. And he's firmly established himself now, the 23-year-old from Whitehall. Danny Sutcliffe, Dublin captain, fighting, and in the end did well to find Chris Crummy. First touch of the day for Chris Crummy. Game has been played in the half-back line, in the half-forward line, and he's wearing the number 12 jersey for Dublin here today. Again, really good battle inside there, but this is going to make its way down to the Galway vice-captain, Conor Whelan. But he's stopped as well. And again, whether it's Whelan or Joseph Cooney or whoever in there for Galway, they're just not getting the space. And again, you talk about it, the match experience that Dublin got from playing Antrim last week, Noel, that can play a factor as well. Galway, on the other hand, haven't played for 3 weeks.
Yeah, what's really interesting here is that Dublin are really putting their body on the line. A ball there that no way Dublin should have won, a block by a leg, I think it was, when Conor Whelan tried to get a ball across. But that's what Dublin are doing incredibly well early on.
Well, they may have had no right to win it, but Darragh Gray had the bit of space, let fly, and that's a wonderful score from the right half-back from Whitehall Cullum Kills. Dublin 2 to the good. Schlitter will break towards Madden. Madden takes a hit from Conor Cooney, but still has it now under pressure from Concannon. Jimmy Murphy, the referee, happy just to let play develop, and in the end, free called. Going to be another free for Dublin.
It's like a carbon copy of what happened on the other side of the field, where they had a lot of Dublin bodies getting very close to the ball.
Nolan looks up, strikes. Again, just really interesting to see it from up here in the crow's nest. Cian O'Sullivan, wearing 15 for Dublin, just got out of that corner and left acres of room for Ronan Hayes to run into. And then it was accuracy from Alan Nolan to put it into that space. It'll still be a line ball for Galway, but interesting, Alan Nolan, he just has that pinpoint delivery, whether it's from puck outs or indeed frees, as we saw there.
Yeah, in fairness to Dublin, they have their homework done. They're letting Ryan McBride a lot of the time go in the kind of offensive sweeper type position, and he's getting on a lot of ball. But also the fact that they're putting a lot of ball down on top of, putting a lot of ball down on the ball winners of Danny Sutcliffe, particularly early on, trying to win aerial possession.
Lovely sideline cut by Fintan Burke. Joseph Cooney tries to put that back across, and he manages to find Whelan. Whelan still makes his way towards goal, and that will be a 65.
I think that's the story of the first 11 minutes, isn't it? But Dublin putting their bodies on the line.
Absolutely. Shane O'Neill, Galway manager, not looking too concerned. Only 11 or so minutes gone, but when the opportunities are presenting themselves, just Galway aren't able to take them quite yet. Joe Canning, he put the previous 65 to the right and wide. This one a little bit more central. Portumna just steadies himself. Scored 49 points in 4 championship games last year. Very healthy average for the Portumna man. And he has struck another one to the right and wide.
What's really interesting here is Dublin's puck-out strategy. They're bringing everyone into the middle of the field and they're running different directions, and it's really, really difficult to try and defend against that.
Danny Sutcliffe broke that one, and just Crummy nearly gathered it on the second attempt. Burke went up for that then, Paddy Smith, but it'll be Joe Canning who gets it and turns, and that is another one put to the left and wide. I think that's 3 wides for Canning. It's 5 in total for Galway now.
Yeah, who would have thought after 13.5 minutes that Galway wouldn't have scored it?
Alan Nolan towards Sutcliffe, but that one's going to break towards Boland. Boland, he's out in front of Morrissey. He turns him, and that is really smart play from the puck out. And then just Boland, just to settle himself, lost his man and took a lovely score.
Boland is doing an incredible job getting up and down the field. He's not forgetting that he's a forward and scoring, but he's putting a lot of pressure on the Galway backs.
13 minutes gone, 3 points for Dublin, no score for Galway, 5 wides for Galway though. And again, a couple of blocks and a free that was saved as well by Alan Nolan, where Joe Canning went for goal. But there will be another free for Galway.
I think that's the last thing that Dublin needs. They don't need to get into a kind of a fouling contest. Leave Galway try and get their opportunities and score them.
See again, is it Madden just holding Joe Canning back? Canning settled himself, former hurler of the year. Again, it's that low trajectory, but this time he does split the post. Joe Canning's up and running, Galway is up and running. Minutes gone in Croke Park. Again, that puck out strategy, the runs to create the space, and then the puck out from Nolan to try to find Boland. But Darren Morrissey was alive to the danger that time. And another free to Galway.
Dublin have obviously worked a lot on their puck out strategy because they're getting really good success out of it.
Mannion this time. Strikes that one, but again, just for whatever reason, Noel, just Galway just haven't hit their straps yet. 15 minutes gone, and there's only 2 points between them, obviously, but just Dublin looking far more assured, finding, well, just as I said it there, put the hex on poor Liam Rush, but again, just Dublin looking far more settled into the game early on.
They look far more organised. I think Galway at times are in 6th and 7th, particularly their half-back line. For the last puck out, I think it was Donald Burke actually came short. He was on his own with about 30 or 40 yards of space in front of him.
Shane Cooney, the St. Thomas club. It's been gathered there by Ian McBride to Crummy. Again, just overplayed it there by Donald Burke. They might get away with it, and I think they have. And that's another strike, and that one's from Rian McBride. And Murphy, nice and calm and composed, and picks out Fintan Burke. Burke to Mannion. Mannion looks up inside, sees Joseph Cooney's run to the right, and in the end picks out nobody. Again, loads of space here for Rian McBride. Rian McBride opens up the shoulders.
That's a great
and
score.
Rian McBride finds his first score of the afternoon.
That's a really, really, really good score for Dublin.
Again, just Dublin picking their passes, finding the player in space.
And that's something that we would have expected from Galway.
Murphy. And again, unlucky there. Cian O'Callaghan with the left hand into the air out in front of Brian Concannon. Conor Cooney, I think he's going to leave this to Joe Canning. Joe Canning, first sideline cut of the afternoon for him. Belows the Hogan stand. Settles himself. Misses the Schlitter. Strikes it beautifully, and is that going to turn? It won't. So it still goes down as a wide. And Johnny Murphy has blown the whistle. There's 17 minutes gone here in Croke Park. It's the first water break, and we're going to go back to Thurles and to you, Grania.
supposed to be simple.
Thanks, Marcus, for that. Okay, lads, so we're not going according to script there. JJ, what have you made of that opening?
Look,
quarter
Galway
or
had
so?
a great start, all right, but they went for goals probably when they weren't on, really, more than 19 or kind of forced the actual goal scoring opportunities. Joe had a couple of frees that he missed there as well. But look, they'll be happy the water break came. To be honest with you, Dublin are by far the better team at the moment, you know. And you see the game last week is standing to this Dublin team there as well. They're on top of the wall, they're on top of their breaks. I think their game plan is working very well. They're punching, they're breaking for their own puckouts as well. So yeah, 100% brilliant first 17 minutes from Dublin. But Galway now will probably get their heads together now and try and rectify exactly what happened in the first 15.
What has happened?
Yeah, I just think it's been a nervy enough start. Galway have had a number of missed chances, but being 3 points down, I suppose, having had them chances is not the end of the world. At the same time, they're going to get a chance now to regroup. Dublin seem to be covering the space really well, and you can see the Dublin sweeper on a couple of occasions coming across into that empty space, picking up the ball and delivering the ball. So Dublin, good value for the 3 points lead so far.
Okay, let's head back then to Croke Park and to Marcus and Noel.
Thanks, gents. Thanks, Groynia. Yeah, back to us here. Noel, what's your reading of it there? And interesting what the lad said, just Dublin settling the benefit of that game last week as well in particular.
Yeah, I suppose it's probably the traditional thing to talk about in the GA. You know, one team that gets, you know, a good start, they're always kind of wondering why that's the case. And obviously last week was a huge opportunity for lads to kind of bed into the championship.
Yeah, Dublin with that comfortable win, 3-31 they scored, conceding 22 points to Antrim. Built up a healthy lead by half-time. They were 8 up, and they just never relaxed in that second half. They just kept driving on. Again, the conditions here are tricky. It's a wet sod, but most of the passes, it's just a little bit crisper from Dublin, and the Schlitter is sticking more often than not. Shane Cooney looks up, and anywhere the Galway players look, there's a sweeper, there's a Dublin player, a second Dublin player in front of them. It's just not coming easy to them at all as we watch Darragh Gray hit that, and that's a second of the afternoon for the right half-back from Whitehall, Culmkills.
It appears that, in fairness to Dublin, their half-back line actually holding their shape, and anytime the ball is coming up under pressure, their half-back line generally, it's Liam Rush or someone that's picking up the ball and getting it into the forwards.
Darragh Gray with his second point of the afternoon, the 23-year-old. He came on as a sub in 2019 for his debut for Dublin against Galway in Parnell Park. As we see that one again, put in towards the square and trying to isolate Joseph Cooney in there, but 7th wide for Galway. And Nolan steps to his left, steps to his right, and then fires it out towards Danny Sutcliffe again. It's a really good take from Morrissey though. Sarsfield's man, left corner back, nicely gathered by, there's that Burke, Conor Burke, strikes it really well, the Vincent's man. That's his first score of the afternoon. They're 5 ahead now. Really efficient play from Dublin. They're just picking their passes and taking the scores. Mannion. He's got work to do here, does Mannion. Whelan looking up towards the post. And again, it's another one that's gone wide. Again, that breeze, Noel, though, it's playing havoc with these efforts from Galway.
And you know what? It's actually really suiting Dublin, because Dublin's puck outs are probably going straight down on top of Mark Shoot, or on Danny Sutcliffe, straight again. There we go.
And that one is tidied up by Pádraig Mannion. And here comes Whelan taking on James Madden. Whelan has pace to burn, but Madden is no slouch either. The opportunity is still there, though, for Galway. And in the end, they manage to get the score through Conor Cooney. And Johnny Murphy, the referee here, is getting a bit excited, a bit animated. He's coming over towards 2 players here. And is it Danny Sutcliffe he's going to have a chat to? I think it is. And Pádraig Mannion. But happy enough to let play continue with a puck out for Alan Nolan, who takes it short to Cian O'Callaghan. Darragh Gray comes short to him as well. Instead, he fires it low towards Sutcliffe, pushing the back. And well, after the chat he was just after having with them, he was definitely going to be keeping a close eye on Pádraig Mannion and Danny Sutcliffe there. No.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because I don't think that Dublin look particularly comfortable when they came out that sharp puck out. So if Galway can kind of push and put a bit more pressure on him doing the sharp puck outs, I think that can actually work quite well for him.
But again, they're just mixing and matching it, aren't they? So when Galway think, right, he's going to go long on top of Sutcliffe or on top of Crummy, then he goes short, picks out Cian O'Callaghan, who picks out Dara Gray, and then they go along the line. So again, it's just keeping Galway guessing the whole time.
Absolutely, but in fairness to Dublin, they're so well organised. They always have a half back line, at least 4, maybe even 5 at times, and Galway are really struggling to break them down.
And here comes Donald Burke, Fianna man, hugely influential last weekend against Antrim, 11.6 from frees. Here is his first one of the afternoon, and he has done that. That is really good from the Fianna man. Ian Murphy with the puck out. Good battle in the air. This will work out for Joe Canning, and Joe Canning drives that, and Joe Canning has found his range. 2 points now for Joe Canning. That's his first from play. Alan Nolan again towards Sutcliffe. That one breaks off Sutcliffe and gives the initiative back to Galway.
It appears Galway are kind of playing with an offensive sweeper at the minute. It appears that Conor Burke is spending a lot of the time very close to Liam Rush, which allows Liam Rush actually to push back and cover the full back line. So he's nearly sitting on the edge of the D, and then obviously Conor then can mark the centre forward.
Yeah, very interesting to see how Dublin have played this in terms of their matchups and in terms of sitting Liam Rush back there. Sullivan just drops that momentarily, but still puts it back to Gray. Really good block there. Solid work from Sean Loftus. And in the end, that's a foul on the ground, and it'll be another free for Galway.
I think Galway are kind of struggling to get their key men on the ball. I think that we put a lot of emphasis on Cathal Mannion and also Conor Whelan to get on the ball, but in fairness to their markers, Dublin are very much, you know, winning the battles there.
Joe Canning looks up. This moment in time, Liam Rush is free back there, but Conor Burke, Vincent's midfielder, is also floating around there, just trying to crowd out any space that Canning might try to place the Schlitter into. Canning strikes that, and it's another one that he's put to the right and wide. 9 wides now for Galway. 24 minutes gone here in Croke Park in the Leinster Hurling Championship semi-final. Second semi-final still to come later on this afternoon. And that is brilliant. Great take from Sutcliffe to Gray. Gray now firing that low in and tried to pick out O'Sullivan, but that's brilliant cornerback play. Opportunity here for Loftus to angle it in. And is that a fair contest? Referee is happy. Wide ball.
I think Brian Kilcannon there knew the ball was going over his head, and I think he tried to grab the arm of the back and tried to pull him down and get a free.
I don't know if he'd agree with you there, Noel, but sure, there's a cornerback's reading it, if ever I saw it. Dublin with possession. Here's Crummy, who's been relatively quiet in this first half. And here's a pass into space, trying to pick out Burke. Excellent from Daithí Burke, the Galway fullback, with his body on the line. And in the end, found Cooney, but to be fair, I think that was a block from Liam Rush.
I think Galway need to be very careful. When you look down here, there's a hell of a lot of room in front of their full back line. Dublin are only playing with one inside, so if they get the ball in quick, there's probably about 50-60 yards of room inside, and you know yourself, when there's room in there, it's a forwards ball.
Not a nice place to be for a cornerback, all right. Joe Canning so far this afternoon. And the radar is certainly back working now. That's 2 in a row for Joe Canning, 2 in a row for Galway.
Some of the traditionals will be happy enough. We don't have a big high-scoring game yet.
You can't keep anyone happy these days, no. It's guided there by Crummy. It loses it. Amongst the storm of Galway players just trying to crowd out that space. And again, just another example of just sloppy stuff here, no?
I don't know, was it sloppy? I just think that Dublin are putting them under so much pressure. I think the movement from the likes of Keane Boland inside Chris Crummy, they're actually covering 2 and 3 players from Galway with their pure movement.
James Madden, Ballyboden St Enda's left half back. Started this afternoon in place of Sean Moran. So it's essentially the same 15 that lined out last weekend against Antrim. Madden. Blocked by Canning. Here comes Liam Rush. And formerly a Pats Palmerstown player, but now with Nafiana. Dublin have lost possession, and Canning driving on. And back will come for a Galway free. And again, and as much as I was saying that Galway were a little bit sloppy, if Canning can get this, that's 3 on the bounce for Galway, and just starting to get themselves back into the game bit by bit.
It's the first time actually Galway committed to the ruck. So they had actually 3 bodies around, whereas before it was kind of 1 man in isolation. So it goes to show the importance of actually getting to the ball.
Not an easy free by any means. Again, a really tricky wind here in Croke Park this afternoon. Interesting, Alan Nolan chatting to his players outside him as Canning puts that between the posts. And Noel, you've just noticed something interesting there about the Dublin line-out for these puckouts.
So what Dublin are doing at the minute is they're playing with everybody in a very straight line, and the minute then that Alan gets the ball in his hand, they're running in different directions, and it's next to impossible for a back to try and get a bit of room in front of the forward to win the ball, and they're getting a lot of success.
And Hayes is staying in close to that square, and Gerard McInerney isn't giving him an inch. Nor is Shane Cooney giving an inch. Boland there, really good full back play. A hospital pass if ever I saw it, and I think Paddy Smith can be lucky, feel lucky there. And Boland is the man down injured, but again he put his corner forward in all sorts of bother with that pass.
Despite the tackle, the interesting thing I find about this is it's your corner forward out winning the ball in your half back line.
Exactly, more often than not Dublin are leaving Cian O'Sullivan and Ronan Hayes in on the edge of the Galway square, and as Noel has mentioned a couple of times, Cian Boland is working very hard back there, just helping out his half back line, helping out the full back line. And we see there 12 Galway tackles to 9 from Dublin. Looks like Cian will be okay, or is it going to be a potentially a temporary sub coming on here for Dublin? And it's Mark Schutte, cooler man, and a player that you quite like, Noel. We were talking about him before the game.
Yeah, absolutely. He's probably a different forward in many regards, left over right, quite tall, quite robust, but incredibly fast and athletic. He's not someone that would say most cornerbacks would like to mark, because he likes to stand in behind you and catch the ball over your head, and he's gone in a flash.
Canning takes that one quickly. It's Adrian Toohey, or tries to. Darragh Gray doing really well. Kincannon spins left, spins right, and finds Whelan. Whelan, the Galway vice captain, looks up, strikes it. 4 in a row now for Galway.
Great vision by Brian Kincannon there. There wasn't a whole lot on, only for a small little run by Connor.
interesting too, Noel, I suppose, is the new rules that have been brought in that allow you to make that temporary substitution, which is great to see, and hopefully Cian Boland will be all right, but allows the team medics and the team doctors, I suppose, to make those decisions in the best interest of the players. And as I said, we wish Cian Boland a speedy recovery, but until then, Mark Shuday is on. But a great addition in terms of the GA rulebook and player welfare.
Absolutely. Look, we've been speaking about it for a long time now. Players are getting bigger, stronger and faster, and it's important to look after players.
It's Crummy without the hurl, but still able to get the pass away. And you'd imagine Matty Kenny, the Dublin manager, looking at this now, he'd want to get this score just before half-time, just to stop that momentum for Galway. 4 in a row for Galway. That's hit lovely. Donald Burke, Nafina, his second point from a free this afternoon. Again, they've gone 10 minutes without a score, Dublin. Just gets them back into that game, stops that momentum for Galway. Here comes Cooney, bit of space, gives that one off to Joseph Cooney. Joseph Cooney makes his way in towards Nolan's goal. And again, not for the first time, 3 saves in the first half from the Dublin shot stopper. Probably not the cleanest of strikes all the same, but Alan Nolan did what he had to do.
It was actually a kind of a poor decision at the time. There was 2 Galway lads inside him, a little flick across or a little hand pass over the head, and they would have been in for goal.
Nolan putting this one in on top of Hayes. Hayes goes up with the hurl, gathers that brilliantly. Here comes Hayes, and that is superb from Mannion. Pádraig Mannion, just as Ronan Hayes was going to pull the trigger. That was brilliant defensive play. Quentin Burke low along the sideline towards Whelan. Whelan with the pass to Conor Cooney. Brilliant from Madden. Dublin wing back. There's an effort there from Donald Burke. And that's only the second wide of the afternoon for Dublin. But again, going back to Pádraig Mannion, that was superb from the Galway captain, just as Ronan Hayes was going to let fly. Noel.
They're lucky that there was so many bodies back from the previous, we'll say, 30 odd minutes. There wasn't, we'll say, extra bodies back there. So that's the threat when you leave one inside, that if he was in there on his own, more than likely that would have been a goal.
We'll talk about the strength and depth of this Galway squad. Here comes former All-Ireland winning captain David Burke, number 21 on his back. He's replacing Adrian Toohey. No,
a lot of experience coming onto the field now.
Brilliant take from Joe Canning out in front of Dara Gray. Canning looks up, Canning strikes, and Canning has pushed that to the left and wide. And to be fair to Dara Gray, he kept with him, he kept at him, kept that pressure on Joe. It wasn't an easy shot in the end.
A great hook.
Brilliant take, but look at this from Gray, just came across and disrupted his flow. Here comes Burke now. He's being chased by 2. Burke still makes his way in. And again, in the end, it was Shane Cooney that came across and just denied him the goal-scoring opportunities. He made his way in towards Éanna Murphy's goal. Conor Burke settles himself. Conor Burke needs to be careful now. In the end, David Burke puts a stop to that. Good and strong from Paddy Smith and Sean Loftus. And the referee happy to let it go. Dara Gray looks left, puts it right. Cian O'Sullivan out in front of Fintan Burke. And Fintan Burke did his job as the former Galway captain under 21s in 2018 when they won Leinster, and suffered a fair share of injuries, in particular that knee injury that he picked up in the All-Ireland Club final. Great to see him back and find Fettlin with number 7 on his back.
I'm very impressed with Dublin's shape. They've done a lot of work, I'd say, over the last couple of weeks and months, because they really are struggling to, Galway are really struggling to break down their shape. In fairness to Conor Burke midfield, he's been phenomenal. I'd say he's covered every blade of grass in the full back line and half back line.
Poor cut there from Rian McBride. Out in front there, his own O'Donnell. They've lost it here to Conor Whelan. O'Donnell is still on him though. Nice trickery from Whelan to create that bit of space for himself. Chance is still there, but chance has been flashed across the posts and wide. 11 wides in this first half for Galway. Again, for anyone joining us late here, there is a tricky breeze that they're playing into, but they've missed easy chances as well as more difficult ones. In particular early on when we went for those goal opportunities, when maybe it was easier just to get them up and running, get those early scores on the board.
That was a big free there, won by David Burke.
23 there is Mark Schutte, Coola player, who's in place of Cian Boland, which is at the moment a temporary substitution. We haven't heard if that's been turned into a permanent one quite yet. Morrissey juggling with the Schlitter there, but in the end gets his shot away. Nolan watches that all the way and gets the pass away to Conor Burke. And there is the half-time whistle blown by Johnny Murphy, our referee here this afternoon. Well, Matty Kenny's mighty Dubs, they're going to be happy enough. They've got a 2-point cushion here at Croke Park in the Leinster Hurling Championship semi-final. Galway with 11 wides in this first half. They certainly haven't been firing on all cylinders. They've got it all to do in the second half. At half-time here in Croke Park, it's Dublin 8 points, Galway 6.
Championship Hurling, the clash of the Ash, Helmet and Hurley at the ready. Centra, proud sponsors of the Hurling Championship.
I've got gadgets and gizmos aplenty.
I've got who's its and what's its galore.
But who cares?
No big deal. I want more.
Up where they walk, up where they run, up where they stay all day in the sun, wandering free. Wish I could be part of that world.
You got this.
What's this about?
I'm just getting into invoicing mode.
Leave the stuff to us, boss.
We have ways of making them pay faster.
Well, technically, professional invoicing and automatic email reminders.
Thanks, teeny tiny, hard-nosed QuickBooks people.
QuickBooks!
Big game stocker-uppers.
Well, we do have a sub at half-time for Galway. 22, Evan Nyland is on in place of Sean Loftus. So 22 on his back, and we have David Burke on as well with 21 on his. There we have it, 8 points to Dublin, 6 to Galway. We were even talking before the game and we were expecting a bit of a shootout perhaps, which has been the trend over the last couple of weeks, but it's been far from a shootout. 11 wides to Galway, as the lads were talking about, only 2 for Dublin in that first half. But it's certainly been entertaining, plenty of opportunities, plenty of goal chances. And did that one come off Paddy Smith? I think it did. But it might be a throw ball here. And the players are arguing. And indeed, I think that is in the end the right decision. I did think it came off Paddy Smith's chest there. Looking quickly by David Burke. Put across here in front of Joseph Cooney by Fintenberg. And a foul there. And it'll be a free to Dublin. And again, Dublin this second half, Noel, I'd imagine they just want to settle again. They're going to be playing into that breeze in this second half, but they'll just want to settle into it good and early, get those couple of early scores like they managed to do in the first half.
Yeah, and you know what? I'd be interested to see if they actually change up Joseph Coney. I think Joseph is probably more effective in the half back line or half forward line because his aerial ability. He's probably not as pacey as the other Galway forwards, and the ball that's getting hit into him at the minute is probably not ideal.
Well, there is the early score for Dublin from Ronan Hayes. Brilliant work by Cian O'Sullivan, the Bridget's corner forward, to pick him out, and then Ronan Hayes did the rest. First score of the afternoon for the Kilmacud Crokesman. Play underway straight away. Mannion, who was quiet in the first half. Here comes Cathal Mannion. He's making his way towards Alan Nolan's goal. He'll come back now. Really good pass back there towards Nyland. Nyland first touch of the afternoon, and Nyland, well, we're going to go for Hawkeye on this one. And again, great to have that technology available just when there is that confusion. So everyone looks towards the screen for a decision.
Evan actually made a great run there. He was actually running towards the goal, and all of a sudden he realised that Carl Mannion had the ball bearing down on goal. So for any young corner forward or wing forward, he did the exact thing that you teach him to do as a young kid, is actually get away from the man with the ball.
Well, excellent decision there from the Mayor Coot, who asked for Hawkeye, and that decision has been given by the referee, Johnny Murphy, and it's back down to a 2-point game. Evan Nyland with that score. Hayes again just trying to lift that, but Gerard McInerney sticking to his task. This will break here for Shute. Manages to put that back towards Burke, I think, and that is a wonderful score.
That's a great score. He was actually leaning back.
We see it again. Just put that back towards Burke, and again he was leaning back now, but it was almost like he scooped it over the bar into a strong breeze. First one from play from the Nafina centre forward.
Again, that's a silly free to give away.
Dublin back out to a 3-point gap. As we see here, just hurl into the back there. Cathal Mannion, Henry and McBride. As Noel said, just a silly free to give away. Alan Nolan, Dublin goalkeeper, will take this. That's a 45. And he's placed it on. He strikes it. It's long, it's high, and it's accurate. That's a wonderful score from Alan Nolan. And again, we saw the difficulty that Galway had in the first half playing into that breeze, but Alan Nolan, what a strike.
That is absolutely phenomenal.
Puck out from Murphy. Really strong take there by Paddy Smith. And again, we're going to see those Galway puckouts from Éanna Murphy landing well inside the Dublin 45 with the aid of that strong breeze that they have. Now, this is going to be another opportunity here for Dublin, and I'd imagine Donald Burke will fancy his chances on this one.
The Galway forwards don't seem to be actually clicking today for some strange reason. During the league they were very crisp and they were very well organised as a six, but it seems today that they're just not coming to the pitch of the game, which is a bit concerning at this stage. Now we're 40 minutes in and they're still getting a bit of hard work trying to get on the ball.
Yeah, they beat Westmeath, they beat Limerick, they beat Waterford and they beat Cork. The only blot in the copybook is that loss to Tip in the third round. And there's another score, and that's 3 now on the bounce for Dublin, 4 in total in this second half. Points to Dublin, 7 to Galway.
I actually think Éanna Murphy is actually struggling at times to look for puckouts.
Play along that far touchline. Burke was that one in low towards Mannion. We've seen him take off once this second half. He does it again there. Gives that pass then inside towards Joseph Cooney. Joseph Cooney tries to slip inside. Crummy. And in the end, that is going to be a free to Galway. But look at the amount of Dublin players back there now.
Yeah, but Chris Crummy came basically 70 yards to actually stop that goal opportunity. In fairness to Joseph Cooney, he was actually very smart. He kind of tucked a hurley of Crummy underneath him to make sure he got the free.
Here comes Joe Canning. Looks like Alan Nolan has learnt his lesson. He only had 2 lads on the line with him in the first half. He's now got 4 with him.
There's no one on Conor Cooney either.
They obviously heard you. They put somebody on him now. Here comes Canning. Lesson learned from the first half. He pucks that between the posts. That's 5 now for Canning. And the gap down to 4 again. And Nolan. Really interesting to see from the high behind camera, just the way and the movement of the Dublin forwards, making it really difficult for the Galway backs to keep up with them. One of the Galway backs there, Pádraig Mannion, their captain, for the first time this afternoon. He's getting the hurl across and a telling interception. It's out here towards Sutcliffe. Sutcliffe looks up. barely looks up. He's found again 2 wides for Dublin in total. They've got 13 points now, Noel. Every opportunity they have, nearly they're scoring.
We always assume that Galway's half back line were going to, you know, I suppose boss the game, but it's actually quite the opposite. Dublin's half forward line have been absolutely incredible.
And here comes Whelan. Whelan making his way in. He's got Cooney inside him. Now he makes his way in towards Nolan's goal. Conor Whelan, the vice captain, deadly in front of goal. And he's buried that. Nolan had no chance.
A big thing there, though, was Galway were actually quite smart. What they done was they pulled Owen O'Donnell out the field, knowing that he's probably the most comfortable back there, and left the 2 cornerbacks inside.
Well, there's a little bit of a coming together here in midfield. One of the Dublin players, I think it's Chris Crummy, has his helmet off.
This could be smart play from Dublin after a goal, break the momentum.
It's Chris Crummy, the Lucan wing forward that's down there. And Johnny Murphy is in conversation with Sean Clear and Kevin Jordan, his linesmen, and just trying to get a sense of what exactly happened to Chris Crummy. They're happy enough to let play continue. And again, you can just hear that roar in Croke Park for the first time. It might only be 10% of the capacity, no, but it's brilliant to hear the Galway crowd, the Dublin crowd, just get behind their players again.
It feels back some bit back to normality here, doesn't it?
Pass outside, it's a loose one though. Joe Canning picks that up, tries to angle the pass, and he does that brilliantly, magnificently. Lovely little dink there from Concannon, and Nolan had to be alive to that threat. Really good from Nolan, just to nip in front of Conor Whelan, who was about to gather that pass from Concannon.
Maybe it was the wrong decision though, Marcus, I don't know. I think that you take your points when they're on.
Played by Shane Cooney, but loses it then. And here comes Rian McBride. McBride, lovely little sidestep. McBride puts that across and puts that wide.
And Ronan Hayes is inside, actually shouting.
And he's incensed because he had slipped just outside Pádraig Mannion. See it again here. Well, we can't quite see Hayes, just see Hayes' yellow helmet just at the corner of your screen there, but the opportunity definitely opened up for him, but that goes down as a third Dublin wide. And Murphy tries to pick out Cooney, who does really well to bat that down towards David Burke. He'll still get that back. Burke to Whelan. Whelan and O'Donnell closing and doing brilliantly. We were talking earlier about Daithí Burke maybe being the best full-back in Ireland, but Owen O'Donnell can't be far behind him, no.
I think though that block epitomises Dublin performance so far. There's no way in the wide early world he should have got a hurley in there, but he actually busted himself to get back in and put pressure on and got the block in.
Here's that block again from the 25-year-old Whitehall Culmkills man. And he would have started in that game in 2019, but picked up an injury early on in that first half. So didn't see out that historic game for Dublin. Of course, they couldn't back it up, and that goes back to what Jamesy was talking about earlier, and just their inconsistency. And well, I don't know what more to say about Joe Canning today. Again, there was all the talk during the week of being the history breaker and overtaking Henry Shefflin. And I think he did a media day during the week with Borgosh Energy, and he was just kind of saying, listen, it's not on my mind at all. But there's that 4 or 5 frees that he'd normally get, and he's put all of them to the right as well, Noel. I don't know if that's some in the way that he's setting up or striking them, but just really uncanny for Joe Canning.
Who am I to try and comment on Joe Canning on his hurling ability? But the one thing that I have noticed is that Galway, after bringing out Joseph Cooney to the half forward line, and so far he's breaking down a great ball for David Burke, and also getting back and dispossession the ball. And
that's another one that they've struck to the left and wide. That one that time by Cathal Mannion. See this brilliant block again, no. That's his experience,
that's
really,
experience.
David Burke, isn't it? A brilliant replacement to bring on. Goes down as a wide ball for Dublin. Again, superb battle in there, to be fair, between Ronan Hayes and Gearóid McInerney. You were surprised that Gearóid went on to Ronan, but he's done really well this afternoon.
I've actually been very, very impressed with Shane Coney and the full backline in general. In fact, they've been kind of left out to sea a lot of the time, but in fairness to them, they've actually won, I'd say, 89% of possession.
5 minutes since the last score. That score was by this man, Conor Whelan. A well-taken goal, and that's a well-taken point. No, it's not. Again, 14 wides now for Galway. He settled himself and he looked like he'd all the time in the world, but just put it to the wide.
No, I know there's still a good bit of time left, but I think it's a good opportunity now for someone like Liam Rush to, you know, put himself in the mix and really kind of grab by the scruff of the neck.
Dublin with possession around midfield. Burke will be under pressure, and he does really well just to gather that in front of Cathal Mannion. And nearly just used the shape of his body just to shield the Schlitter. Little sidestep from Danny Sutcliffe. Sutcliffe drives it. Look at that wind holding it back, but not even the wind from the canal end can hold up that effort. Superb from the Dublin captain.
Dublin are actually getting a lot of success by handing the ball back. They seem to always have 2 or 3 people in the pocket, and it goes to the man in a better position.
It's 2 points and 2 in a row for the Dublin captain. Free for Galway. Fintan Burke drives it into space, but again, just like Noel was talking about earlier, just the Galway forwards just haven't clicked at all. And 49 minutes into this game now, Fintan Burke was at one thing, but Brian Concannon just didn't read that ball in at all.
No, and we were expecting a lot from Cathal Mannion, as I said earlier on, and Conor Whelan. They just haven't actually got to the pitch of the game. But in saying that, they're such good lads that I think that all they need is 2 or 3 balls in, and they could still create damage inside.
It looks like Oisín O'Rourke is going to come on for Dublin. Oisín, who scored 9 points against Galway in 2019. And Joe Canning lining up this sideline cut now. Comes across it, drives it across, but straight into the welcoming hand of Alan Nolan. Burke. That's a loose one, tidied up by Daithí Burke. Mannion from a huge distance out. Excellent.
He must have heard
him. He must have. But again, credit to Daithí Burke and just how he picked out Mannion, and Mannion did the rest.
I think that's something that we're used to seeing with this Galway team, is actually passing the ball around, but they get incredible success out of doing things like that.
Another break to Galway. McInerney struggling to lift it though. 20 minutes remaining here in Croke Park. And it looks like Cian O'Sullivan is the one going to be making way for Oisín O'Rourke, and what a save from Murphy on Ronan Hayes. Was there a foul there on Schutte? There wasn't. That'll go down as a wide, but out of nothing, Galway players maybe just dilly-dallying that little bit too long with the ball, and that broke down for Ronan Hayes.
That was a great save. I think it was his foot, was it?
I think so. Whatever he used, Éanna Murphy was superb, just spread himself. Excellent.
It was actually a great run by Ronan Hayes. Nobody saw him kind of sneaking in behind him.
That substitution has now happened. Oisín O'Rourke is on for Cian O'Sullivan. Big Croke's man again. He's been in and out of the Dublin starting 15. He certainly knows where the posts are. 9 points, as I said, when these two sides last met in championship in 2019, and here is O'Rourke. He looks up. There's 2 inside him that haven't been picked up. Can he pick them out? He can. He's picked out Crummy. Crummy on Murphy's goal! What a pass! What a finish! And Éanna Murphy could do nothing to stop that one.
As you said, Marcus, there was 2, 3 fellas running through the middle, nobody marking him. But it goes to show again the organisation from Dublin. Once they had the ball in the corner, they knew exactly where it was going.
What vision from O'Rourke. He's only on the field, a matter of moments. And again, there was 2 options inside, which is really unusual. Whatever about one and one fella falling off his task, there was 2 options for Oisin O'Rourke then. He had the time and the space then, once he'd created for himself, to pick out the pass.
But also the goal by Chris, in fairness, there wasn't an easy opportunity. There was a lot of pressure on him, and the angle was tight enough as well. So a great goal, let's not take away from that as well.
Absolutely. Chris Crummy made his debut in 2013 for Dublin, the Lucan man. 3 points last weekend against Antrim. And again, that constant debate nearly that seems to follow him around. Is he a wing back? Is he a wing forward? Look at this.
JJ was saying earlier on air, I think that he's a back, but from looking at that, I don't think there's too many backs that do that.
James, he wouldn't even do that in his heyday. What a finish. It was superb, and as Noel outlined there, he was under plenty of pressure by Ian Murphy, but did so well. And Dublin are back now. They have that 5-point cushion, 17 minutes.
The one thing that was good about that as well is he scored a goal, but he ran straight back out the field, straight back on the task.
Evan Nyland, he's got a point from play after coming on at half-time. This is his first effort from a place ball, and Nyland has done the job there. And that's interesting, because again, when you think of the amount that Joe has put wide, will Evan Nyland pick up those duties between now and the end of the game? Well, with that score from Nyland, it is our second water break of the afternoon with 53 minutes gone. It's 1:14 to Dublin, it's 1:10 to Galway. Back to Thurles and to you, Grania.
Thanks, Marcus. Well, lads, lots to talk about in that opening quarter or so. JJ, what have you made of it?
Yeah, we're expecting a huge response from Galway. Look, they got the goal, but they never capitalised on it after that, you know. Dublin have just scored a goal with Chris Crummy, but they had 2 goal chances before that. Marie McBride got through, and Ron Hayes made an unbelievable run, but he was on his own. So they had the warning, and then Ron Hayes had a great chance only for the keeper, made an absolutely brilliant save. So look, the writing is on the wall for this Galway team, but they're not getting the message. They're just kind of choosing to ignore it or what the situation is. But they're in a hell of a game now at the moment. So look, there's 4 points in it now. Evan Nyland got a good free. He's been playing well since he came on. But look, this Dublin it's a massive opportunity for Dublin to go on and win this and get into a Leinster final. So Galway need to up their game 50-60% if they're going to be competitive in the rest of this game.
Yeah, same as JJ is saying there, Grania. Huge last quarter now for Galway, huge last quarter for Dublin as well. I mean, they've doubled their lead from half-time. They're 4 points up. It's a nice cushion going into the last quarter. And if they keep doing what they're doing, and we spoke about it before, if they're able to get a goal or 2, and they've just done one, they've just got one there.
Okay, let's head back then to Marcus and Noel.
Brilliant stuff. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Grania. Noel, yeah, last quarter to go. Dublin have that 4-point cushion. 5 is the most they've had in this game so far. Can they do it?
100%. I don't think a whole lot has changed the whole way through the match. Galway don't seem like they've changed shape. They've changed personnel to an extent, but not overly, dramatic. Dublin seem, here we go again, they seem like they still have the momentum and the power and everything in place. So, yeah.
Well, that was Chris Crummy with the effort. Shane Cooney stopped him, but the ball broke to Ronan Hayes, and that's 2 points now for the Kilmacud Crokes full forward.
And that's your answer there. Can Dublin do it? There's your score.
And again, it's just about momentum as well, Noel, isn't it? Straight off that water break, both teams will be starting and they'll be trying to implement the coach's directions, but, you know, Dublin again straight off it, and just, again, Galway finishing out. They got that score from Evan Nyland, first out of the blocks. Dublin get the score, and again just resettle themselves, increase that lead again to 5.
But he should, like, realistically speaking, as a back, there's no way that he should be scoring from there. There was 3 or 4 Galway lads around him. Get a hook, get a block in, get your hand in if you have to. But they just seem to be scoring a lot easier than what Galway are at the minute.
Dublin had 8 points at half-time. Galway had 6. They've increased that now to 115. There's Ronan Hayes, 1-3 last weekend against Antrim. And he's 2 points to his name now, the 23-year-old. He's won Leinster Minor Hurling Championship medal in his back pocket already. Wouldn't he love a senior Leinster medal in that same back pocket?
I think we have Shane Coney going off for the blood sub. And not a bad substitute to bring in either.
Indeed, looks like Aidan Hart is coming on there. 19 on his back, and he'll go in while we wait for Shane Cooney to be patched up there. Shane, of course, brother of Donal and Connor, and Heather, his sister, an all-star and an All-Ireland winner with Galway as well. Talented family. Derek Gray sticks to his task really well there, but then gets swallowed up by the Galway players. Ireland gets that back, and in the end, Crummy putting enough pressure on Cathal Mannion to force the sideline puck.
Yeah, just in that passage of play there, Galway had nowhere to go. Dublin put in 2 really good blocks in a very short period of time, which is phenomenal.
Cathal Mannion looks inside. Again, as Noah mentioned in that first half, the 2 sweepers are a constant for Dublin. One is in front of Conor Whelan, and then the other, Liam Rush, is just sitting in front of Alan Nolan's goal.
It appears there that Owen O'Donnell's hamstring could be gone.
Yeah, his right hand has gone straight away to that right hamstring as we're looking at that effort for Galway, which has gone over the bar. But that's real trouble for the Dublin fullback, Owen O'Donnell.
This is not good. While that ball has been played in, I looked up there, and the only person inside their own half seemed to be Usheen, which is pretty obvious in what they're trying to do.
This does not look good for Matty Kenny's side. Owen O'Donnell has been an ever-present in this Dublin team. Superb fullback. He's talking away to the physiotherapist there, as we're looking there at TJ Brennan coming on for Fintan Burke. And it looks like he will continue. Oh no, he won't. He was jogging over, and then they gave the well, hugely disappointing end to his afternoon. Look at him just stretching to try to get out in front there of Joe Canning. That's hugely disappointing. An early end to his afternoon in 2019 as well, with injury. And it's Andrew Dunphy. But, Andrew Dunphy has gone on there. He's just waiting to, I think, shake the hand of Owen O'Donnell. But that has happened there now. Andrew Dunphy, the St. Bridget's player, is on for Owen O'Donnell.
I think Andrew Dunphy's actually gone to wing back.
Hayes did really well there, knew the pressure was coming on, shortened the grip, got that ball away to Donald Burke. Donald Burke over the shoulder, over the crossbar. Great play.
With 12 minutes left, Dublin are in the driving seat here.
Again, just really intelligent play from Ronan Hayes. There's 2-3 Galway players around him, shortened the grip, gave the pass away. And then Murphy is after making smithereens of his come on there with the puck out. He's going to need a new one. I'm sure he has one in behind him. Again, Liam Rush doing the job that he's been brought in to do as a sweeper. He's been pulled to the ground, and he'll take a few minutes out of this.
I think that's got to be more frustration now than anything else from Joseph Cooney.
That's the first yellow of the afternoon for Joseph Cooney, as we see Shane Cooney coming back in there. Liam Rush good to go again, as we see that yellow for Joseph Cooney confirmed. Alan Nolan looking up again. That line that Dublin create down the spine of the pitch, and then leaving plenty of room on both wings. And Nolan looks up. Big, long one. Where's it going to break? Again, just a bit of a ruck in there. Johnny Murphy, the ref, happy to let it go for a while, but now he'll pull him back. We just see the confirmation there that actually Joseph Cooney has left the field and Aidan Hart has come on in his place. So Shane Cooney has come on after his blood reversal, but Aidan Hart also stays on, with Joseph Cooney leaving the field. Murphy, the referee, gets us underway again. Ronan Hayes gets that away to Danny Sutcliffe. Too many steps from the Dublin captain. and that's going to be a free to Galway.
As you look out here, it's amazing to see how many Dublin players actually filter back the field.
And again, as soon as that decision goes against them, they just turn and they just pelt it back there to give a dig out to Liam Rush and to the other backs that are in there and potentially isolated. What a pass from Canning. Well, he tried to pick out Whelan. It was a blind pass. And Nolan's under pressure here. But in the end, does really well to find Paddy Smith. Going across his own goal. Wouldn't be coaching 101, but it works out for them. Found Liam Rush, found Madden. And Dublin will be able to clear their lines here. But Gray under pressure. Lovely little swivel by Donald Burke, and foul on him. And again, just an opportunity for Dublin to take the sting out of it.
I think Liam Rush is really starting to come into the game. He's his position over the last, we'll say, 2 or 3 plays has been really, really good.
Again, physio's on, and a really good play from. Just to talk to us about this man, Liam Rush. I mean, you were fascinated before the game, Noel, about what kind of a role he would take up and who he would look after. Would he look after Mannion, etc.? But he's done a brilliant job as the sweeper back there for Matty Kenny.
He's been fantastic, but in fairness to him, it's the help of Conor Burke midfield. He seems to be picking up the centre forward a lot of the time, which allows Rush to get back in and make sure that they don't score too many goals or make too many opportunities inside.
Well, it is Donald Burke. He scored 2 points in the first half. He strikes that, and as you can hear, the Dublin supporters on the canal end like that. And why wouldn't they? It's a 6-point gap. There's 8 minutes left in Croke Park.
In fairness to Dublin, their big players are really stepping up today.
Yellow card there for Pádraig Mannion from that incident. Dublin again driving forward. Here comes Conor Burke. Oh, excuse me, it was Rian McBride who now finds Chris Crummy. Big shoulder from him. Now finds James Madden. Madden in the end tried to put that outside him, but really good play, smart play from Aidan Hart. Cut it out. And again, there was danger there again in the Galway backs.
Probably the best decision there was to shoot for a point. It would have then put it to 7 points, which means they would have needed 3 scores as opposed to 2.
Again, just keeps the scoreboard ticking along, keeps that gap out. 6 points at the moment, 7 minutes to go, plus whatever Johnny Murphy will play in terms of injury. David Burke passes that towards Whelan. Whelan, little step inside. Cian O'Callaghan, and Conor Whelan does really well. And again, it's nearly 8 minutes since the last score from Galway. That was needed.
Yeah, I think Conor tried to nearly tuck inside and realised then that there was probably 4 or 5 extra doubles back to him, decided to go for the point, which is the right option at the time.
Alan Nolan with the puck out. Trying to find Danny Sutcliffe. Doesn't work out. Good play from Pádraig Mannion, the Galway captain. Tries to take it quick towards Brian Concannon, but Ian McBride wasn't long in closing down that option. Oh, that's a poor cut from the captain there. He knows that himself. He doesn't need me to tell him that.
That probably epitomises Galway's day today. They just don't seem to be at the pitch of the game, unfortunately.
6 minutes or so left in this game. Noel, who's kind of stood out for you in terms of the man of the match nominees, please?
For me, I think that Conor Burke has been phenomenal in midfield, is kind of playing a sweeper role, supporting the likes of Liam Rush. I think that he's been absolutely fantastic. I think that Danny Sutcliffe has been fantastic half forward. He's always been on as a scoring opportunity or for the puck out as well. And also Ronan Hayes has been pretty impressive in the full forward line. He seems to be causing a lot of trouble inside.
Really good from O'Callaghan. It's a lovely pass from Whelan. Did well to find Hart. Hart looks up and Hart has found a lovely score for the substitute. Brilliant score from the substitute. Effortless, really. And again, just keeps things Tipping along for Galway, keeps them within striking distance of Dublin with 4.5 minutes of the 70 to go.
I think Dublin now need cool heads.
Free for Galway. In you get, says Captain Pádraig Mannion. Mannion drives it with the wind at his back, but like he's done so often this afternoon, Liam Rush stands tall for Dublin, cuts that one out, finds Danny Sutcliffe, and Danny Sutcliffe finds another score. What an inspirational point from the St. Jude's man, the Dublin captain.
But that Marcus came from the organisation of the Dublin backs, where they let Liam Rush, someone that's very good in the air, to go a sweeper, catch the ball and give it to probably one of their best shooters.
3 points now for Danny Sutcliffe. 3 points last weekend against Antrim as well. He's been brilliant. Again, if we think back to that first half and the amount of ball that Alan Nolan, the goalkeeper, tried to put on top of him, and he went toe to toe with the likes of Fintan Burke, with the likes of Pádraig Mannion. Substitution for Galway there. I see TJ Brennan's after coming on, and it looks like Jake Malone is getting ready to come on for Dublin as well. Aidan Hart takes a big hit there from Conor Burke, and on we go. Another line ball for Galway. David Burke.
Conor Burke seems to be camped out nearly in the full back line at this stage.
David Burke with this line ball for Galway. Time running out. And again, just didn't get the type of delivery that he was after. Can I just ask you, Noel, on that? We had this chat earlier and you were down pitch side and you were just kind of saying the surface here in Croke Park, it looks immaculate from up here, but there just wasn't that spring off it, that bounce off it. And we've just seen a couple of incidents on line balls like we've just seen there on that puck and that effort from David Burke. It just hasn't, and it's happened to Dublin players as well.
Yeah, it just kind of seems to be a bit dead, I suppose is the best way to describe it. But it was pretty good for Joe's cuts in the first half and again in the second half, so maybe it's just the personnel at this moment in time.
Dahi Burke again angles that one in. Plenty of Dublin players back there, making life difficult for Brian Concannon. Cian O'Callaghan that time. Just getting it slightly mixed up there as they try to get rid of it, but this will work out for them. Bit of space now for Liam Rush. Rian McBride looks up towards the post. Rian McBride strikes that and puts it to the right and wide. Fifth wide of the afternoon for Dublin.
Again, Conor Burke doing Trojan work there in the half back line. Picked up 2 balls in the space of about 10 seconds.
Lovely puck out from Éanna Murphy, finds Dahi Burke. Again, every time the Galway players out the field look up, all they see is blue jerseys in there, just making life very difficult for those outside. And there's another example of it. Rian McBride just working so hard to get back and to help out his backs. Robbed and got back. Donald Burke puts that one low and into the corner for Oisin O'Rourke to run onto. O'Rourke just tried to shield the ball. O'Rourke still fighting, trying to lift it. Looks like Darren Morrissey is down there, whether it's cramp or a hamstring. And we're going to have 4 additional minutes at the end of the 70 here in Croke Park. Crummy pulls on that a little bit loosely. And Crummy has now also gone down. Noel, 4 minutes announced here at the end of the game. It looks like it's going to go Dublin's way. Who have you selected as the Littlewoods man of the match, please?
I would, after watching today's game, Conor Burke has been absolutely fantastic in midfield. He's covered every blade of grass between the midfield, half back line and full back line. As I said a few minutes ago, he got on 2 or 3 possessions in the space of, I'd say, 10 seconds, which there's no way he should have gone.
Well, Conor Burke is our Littlewood's man of the match here in Croke Park. Superb. St. Vincent's man has been superb. And congratulations to him. There he is again back there, just helping out the full back line. Conor Whelan bearing in on goals. Andrew Dunphy put a stop to him, and here comes O'Callaghan, and O'Callaghan lifts his arms and his hurl to the heavens. The Coola man knows what a crucial intervention that was from himself, and indeed from the substitute Andrew Dunphy.
Yeah, I suppose you'd call that a forwards tackle, would you, Marcus?
I'm keeping my opinions to myself, Noel. That's why we bring you in.
You're around too long. Again, this relieves a lot of pressure from the Dubs.
And it looks like Paul Crummy has come on to replace his brother Chris. Chris just hobbling over, but I think nothing too big to concern Matty Kenny. It just looked like a bit of cramp. And again, when you have fresh legs to bring on, the talent of a young fella like Paul Crummy, it's the right thing to do. 2 minutes or so left here in Croke Park. Dublin 5 points ahead, 118 to 113. Galway need a goal, possibly need 2. Again, great battle over there between the 2 substitute, Jake Malone and Evan Nyland. There's a pass to Hart, comes out here, it's low, and Nolan does really well from Niall Burke's effort. And again, we talk about the influence of the Conor Burke, who's our man of the match, but Alan Nolan, Noel, he's been brilliant in goals for Dublin today.
The one thing about the Dubs today is they've made every decision the correct one. Even with their shooters, the likes of getting Danny on the ball, getting the likes of Ryan McBride on the ball, getting the likes of Ronan Hayes on the ball, they've done everything to a T, so they've been very well schooled and organised over the last couple of weeks.
And again, for anyone joining this game late, this has been a total Dublin performance. They got the first score of the game after 8 minutes, and they just haven't looked back from there. Here is Conor Whelan, he's still full of running. Darragh Gray pulling him to the ground. Was he fouled? No, says our referee. Hart, I think, was definitely fouled there. Excuse me, it was a Concannon, it was. Brian Concannon fouled by Andrew Dunphy, and there will be a free to Galway. Here's the one that was let go by a referee, and then indeed Dunphy on Concannon. That's the one that was blown.
Just too ambitious to get on the ball, I think.
And Joe Canning just having a quick chat with the referee there, just asking, have I time left?
Yeah, about 20 seconds.
And yes, must have been the answer. He puts that between the sticks. That's 1:14 now for Galway. The gap is down to 4. Time is almost up here in Croke Park. Another substitution for Dublin. Fergal Whiteley replaces his fellow clubman Ronan Hayes. 2 Kilmacud Crokes men. Ronan Hayes, job done. 2 points this afternoon to add to his 1-3 against Antrim last week. Alan Nolan with a monster puck out. Where's this one going to break? It'll break towards McBride. It'll break towards Schutte. Darren Marcy just gets a foot to it. The Galway left corner back. And
who is
again, 4 Dublin players back to the Galway 3.
Again, that man, Conor back there, hoovering up all the ball.
And Nolan, plenty of time. He got a point from a monster free earlier. And here is it Whiteley in there? It is. But Diana Murphy in the end gets away with it, I think. No,
I think just about.
And those whistles you can hear is from the Dublin supporters. Galway supporters will be quite the opposite. They just want another minute or so to see if they can get the 2 goals that they'll certainly need. But they're running out of time here. Here comes Mannion. Mannion puts that one across. It's a dangerous one. And there is the full-time whistle in Croke Park. Noel, I think it's fair to say nobody gave Dublin a chance here today, but they come out as 4-point winners and they're into the Leinster final.
Yeah, but it comes down to work rate and their heart, but more so I think it was their organisation from start to finish. They stuck to the task. They didn't kind of try and alter away from what they were told to do, and I think it's the first team that kind of breaks the plan will be the team that actually loses, unfortunately.
Well, again, there is Matty Kenny. Not too much emotion, but a smile there. He'll certainly be happy with that performance. And again, they just flew out of the traps. They went 3-0 up after 13 minutes, and they just never let up after that. Joe Canning, of course, he'll be disappointed. There'll be the back door for them. But for Dublin, it's the opportunity to win a first Leinster title since 2013 and go for that 25th title. The full-time whistle here in Croke Park. Dublin, 118. Galway, 114.